This video is made for adult collectors because giant robot spooky dinosaur. So I haven't kept it a secret that I don't really like Studio Series Grimlock. When I first got it, I thought it was too small, kind of lopsided, the articulation was limited, and the transformation was weird and it had a kind of abysmal dinosaur mode. So I sold it off ages ago. But now that I'm doing this big leader class collection, I kind of had to buy it back, and thank God Hasbro decided to reissue it, because that made it a hell of a lot easier to get. And now I have it for a second time, and since owning it, my tastes have changed as they would, and I'm trying to look at this in a different way than I did when I initially got it. Now, I know everyone who watches this channel would really want me to put this Hasbro Grimlock next to that giant third-party one, and yeah, this is the only time you are going to see this, because this is a retail $55 US toy, and this is a retail $270 US toy. They are not comparable. Not to mention the third-party one doesn't have to follow safety regulations or other restrictions that Hasbro has to conform to be sold on store shelves. So I'm not going to say which one's better because they are completely different types of toys. Obviously, the third-party one looks better, but it is $270 versus $55. So if getting an almost perfect Grimlock costs $270, then the leader ain't that bad. It still does things I don't like, but it's definitely not as bad as I originally thought, and having that big one's kind of changed my perspective on the small one a bit. It looks intense, just as Grimlock should. Like, the design is loud, and it visually is shouting at you. The paintwork is very nice for an official toy, with the weathering and the scratches on the toy due to that nice shiny silver with that metallic seawater Revenge of the Fallen Megatron green underneath. The red beady eyes really do pierce out at you like knives, and the ones on the shoulders do sell that the heads or the shoulder pads. And I do like the way that they've done them, because they match and fill in both sides. No other Age of Extinction Grimlock toy that I've seen has filled in both sides of the shoulder pad. It's either lower jaw on the back or just nothing. But this is both. I like the way they solve that. He doesn't come with anything, which is a bit annoying. No staff or chain, just his mace that's permanently on his hand. But I guess most people would have left it on there anyways, so that's fine. What I really don't like about the robot mode though is that hip skirt. On this toy, it looks less like a diaper, but it still does get in the way. The front part is one solid piece that only really fits in between in a very specific way, so using it can get very annoying. And it really does restrict that leg movement forward and backwards, leaving him looking a bit cumbersome in dynamic poses. I just don't like when hip skirts are one solid piece. It just looks funky. He is too small in comparison to a lot of other Studio Series and regular size class toys, but at this time there were no commanders in Studio Series, so he wouldn't have been the proper size anyways. Now, I would really like to see the commander set of Age of Extinction Dinobots, but there are 4 of them, and it's usually a commander per line per year, so it would take 4 years of waiting to get all of them, so leaders are fine. So, this being an early Studio Series toy, the articulation is not the best. This was still before this whole standardized articulation really hit Studio Series, so it has the joints, but they're not great. So we'll just straighten them out here to properly demonstrate. The head can rotate. It is on a ball joint, so it can tilt and he can look down, but he can't look up very far, so you can't really get him into some like low down looking up poses because his neck doesn't do that. And every time you move his neck up, you get this little gap right here because this plate doesn't really lock in, so it moves. Shoulders, they're on ratchets. They can go out that far and then forward about that far because of these things, but it sounds great. The shoulders can move out at the lower joint here, but only out about that far because of these little bits of armor that get in the way, along with this arm's amount of junk hanging off of it because of the transformation. That's as far as it goes out, which is a little unfortunate. And then this one has a wrist swivel. The ball doesn't swivel because the tail's hiding in it. His horn likes to fold down a lot as well. He does have a waist joint. And then this is where the hip skirt comes in. It's one piece that comes up and sometimes likes to just come off. So we'll hope it doesn't come off. The hip skirts move out that way on that weird joint to allow for, actually gotta move them up to do legs to go forward that far. That goes back. They can go back that far. They can go out that far on nice ratchets. You do have thigh rotation. You have 90 degrees of bend at the knee. You can unclip it to get you a full knee bend, but that looks weird. And then the ankles are on ball joints, but the only amount of pivot you get is about that, which is not the greatest. So yeah, he's not the best, most posable thing in the world. And now lining the hip skirt up is gonna be a pain in the butt. There we go. He's not the most posable thing in the world, which is unfortunate because Grimlock does do some actual sort of dynamic poses. I dropped something throughout the film, so I kind of wish that he could do that, but whatever. So the robot, not as bad as I remember, but still has issues. Now how's that dinosaur mode, eh? Grimlock's transformation is not the most fun thing in the world, I'm going to admit, and it has to do with the legs and this arm right here. They're not enjoyable to do. So we'll move this up, bring this arm around and out, and then fold out the tail. Straighten that out. I'm also going to open this now before I forget. So that goes there. This doesn't peg into anything, which is a little unfortunate, but whatever. Then I'm going to rotate that. No, we're not going to rotate that yet. I'm going to do this side. We're just going to open this up, rotate it around. Now, this elbow, as you can see that white stuff there, for some reason it was glued out of the box, and I had to like unglue the glue, which was really weird. It was so strange. We're just going to do that. We're going to open this up. Rotate the head in. Close that back up. And that exposes the nice little rib section there. Now the hips. Bring this forward and then just split it. Now rotate it and bring this on a weird, he did the splits. It's on a weird rocker joint, so we're gonna rock it forward and then peg it in. Peg it in. Getting it the other way to robot mode is very annoying. We'll fold that up. And then this is probably a good time to finish the arm. Shove the fist in there. Tab the jaw together. Like that. Get the feet and legs all lined up. There we go. Rotate that around, fold it up. And now, as you've noticed, Grimlock doesn't do the traditional Grimlock transformation where the arms become the legs, even though in the film the arms became the legs. This one doesn't do that. And it kind of makes the proportions look a bit strange on the dinosaur mode, but dinosaur. Yay. That is a very wonky dino mode. The legs and the hips are weirdly exposed. The neck. Man, that neck is just... I don't like it still. It's all hollow and exposed, and usually hollow doesn't bug me, but this is one of those small instances where it's just so in your face that it does bother me. There are upgrade kits you can get to fix it all, but I'm not buying any of them. He's also kind of stubby. The dinosaur mode is just oddly proportioned, making it feel weird in hand. There isn't much new detail exposed when he's transformed, but it's still a decent looking dinosaur mode. It's not perfect, but it's serviceable. But is it worth the full price? I mean, he is rather large, and plastic count and all that. It feels physically worth it. But to me, it's not a full experience. It's kind of hard to describe, but it feels like it's missing something. I just think it's accessories. Like, he could have used that stupid staff thing he had. I know upgrade kit that exists, so if you want it, you can buy that. I'm still happy I have it again, and I would recommend it, especially since there's gonna be like the other 3 once the Studio Series 86 guys are done, and you're gonna need this in order to complete that set, so I'm glad they put it back on shelves. But a full price, I think in the end, yeah, it's a big leader. It's the size of old leaders, so I say that full price is warranted. But that's my look at Studio Series Grimlock. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.